Huh.
Hello and welcome back to Rocket PC Gaming. Rocket here with another quick tutorial for you. This one is we're going to go over the NavBall. As I see, there's a couple of things in my live stream that people have questions about that on how to use it, and then also how to read everything that's on it. And a lot of people think that they need mods in order to be able to understand what's going on. In reality, it's just they just don't quite fully understand how to use this NavBall. So to get started, this is the NavBall right here where my mouse is hovering over. All right, it shows your RCS indicators, your SAS indicators. Over here on the right, you have your G-force meter. It doesn't register negative G's, even if when you're actually pulling them, it still shows them as being positive. So just keep that in mind, that if you're nosing down from level flight, and you start to nose down, you would actually pull negative G's, not positive G's. All right, and then over here on the left, this is your current throttle indicator. Full throttle, zero throttle, 2/3, 1/3 is basically how the throttle there works. Your heading, which is done here with the digital readout, we're sitting at 90 degrees. And then you can also see on a NavBall here that we're sitting on the 90-degree line. Now this winged figure here, this represents your aircraft, with this point representing the nose. Okay, blue on a NavBall obviously represents sky. The brown or tan color represents the ground. Now as you can see, there's a ladder here that shows different increments, 10, 20, 30, 40. These are degrees of pitch. And obviously if they're going this way, they're degrees of positive pitch. And if they're going this way, they're degrees of negative pitch. So as you can see right now, we have a pitch of about 0. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take off so I can demonstrate a couple of other things here regarding the NavBall. Okay, so now we're climbing, and we're roughly at about a 15-degree pitch of climb. Now I'm going to pull up really, really sharply, and you're going to see this circle here with there's 3 lines coming out of it, but they're kind of lined up so you can't see all of them. This circle represents your velocity indicator, or prograde marker. This is the direction that your momentum is carrying you, right? So right now they're matched up, so our angle of attack, even though we're at 15 degrees pitch, which is our climb rate, we have an angle of attack of 0. So as I pull up real hard, see this difference? The difference between these two indicators is your angle of attack. And that's one of the things I think a few people get confused about, is so many other streamers that I've seen misrepresent what this is. It's the difference between your velocity indicator and the nose. This is your angle of attack, whether it be positive or negative. Or wait till we come back around here. I built this plane to be able to fly with very, very high angles of attack, to kind of make this easier to visualize. You also have lateral angle of attack, as you can see here. But this, as I said, is one of the biggest things I've noticed, is that people misrepresenting pitch and angle of attack. They are 2 separate things. Okay, now you can also, I don't think I have anything set up for this at the moment. I do not. But you can select, like if you have a contract, you can select them, and you'll see their indicator here you can select them as a navigation point, and you can see them here as which way to navigate to get to them. I just don't happen to have one of those set up right now. By the way, this aircraft is on my Kerbal X page. It's just really, really fun to fly, because you can do crazy maneuvers. I know it kind of looks like some type of weird starfighter type of thing, but that's just so that all of its control surfaces were exaggerated. Alright, so I am going to bring this back in for a landing. and then we are going to jump out to Jebediah, who's in space, who's going to demonstrate other things about the NavBall. So actually, to make this faster, I'm just going to go ahead and revert flight. And we'll jump to the tracking station. And we're going to jump out to Mr. Jebediah, who's in space. Alright, so Jeb here is in orbit around Kerbal. You know, he's at a roughly 170 kilometer orbit. Just to make this a little bit easier to demonstrate, I'm going to time warp a little bit to get in a little bit better sunlight, even though it really doesn't matter too much here. Okay, so most of you are probably already familiar that this symbol here is prograde, which is the direction that you're traveling. Retrograde, which is the exact opposite direction of travel. But then you'll also notice at the top and bottom of your nav balls, you have radial in, which is this one, and then radial out. Right? And you're asking, well, what do these do? Alright, so here is our craft. If we were to set a maneuver node, we're traveling in this direction, right? If we were to add a maneuver here, so radial in and radial out points to the planet and away from the planet, right? Or whatever it is that you're orbiting, whether it be moon or Minmus or any place else. So what this allows us to do is this will allow us to more circularize or tilt our orbit. Let me put this further out in the future here. Right, so you can see if we were to burn radial out, it would shift our orbit over to more towards one side. If we were to go the other direction, it would shift it the other direction. Now, it would also kind of swap. You can swap around your periaps and apoaps a little bit. You can kind of use it to more circularize your orbit, make it less elliptical. Now, if you only have a partial, you're not quite in orbit or something. Let's say, for example, you're going to moon and you want to be captured, or you're in its sphere of influence, but your apoaps is much higher than what you want. You can burn radial in to burn closer to the surface. Or let's say you had an encounter and you're actually on a collision course with the surface of the body. You can burn radial out and move your apoaps out away from the body that you're orbiting. All right, next is you see the normal and anti-normal indicators. These are the triangles. These are exactly 90 degrees or perpendicular to your orbit, except one is going straight up and one is going straight down. Now, up and down I know is relative in space, but it's basically up and down relative to your current velocity, or current wherever you're currently going, your current orbit, right? So if we wanted to do an inclination change ascending, we would go normal, and you would see it would actually tilt our orbit upwards. Now, if we're to go anti-normal, we would actually go downwards. Now, just to remember, though, that inclination changes are probably the most expensive in terms of delta V for your maneuvers. But all the symbols that are on here, all 6 of these symbols, are all on your nav ball, and they're all exactly 90 degrees away from each other, right? So you have, well, with the exception of the polar opposites. So you have right here, it's radial out. So radial in is going to be exactly 180 degrees in the other direction, just like prograde is from retrograde. And then you have your normal is exactly 180 degrees from anti-normal, obviously. But then each one of these is 90 degrees off from each other. So if you think of the nav ball as a cube, which has 6 sides, each of these would be sitting on one side. So any of these or any combination of these maneuvers will do a combination of those two things. So for example, if you wanted to do a retrograde burn with a descending retrograde, reducing our orbit here, with a descending inclination change. So if we were to actually execute this burn from the maneuver I just put in here, we would actually be burning way south and landing somewhere. We're actually probably going to be over here with that with the atmosphere. But anyway, landing south of Kerbal, Africa, right? So that is the NavBall in a nutshell. So I hope that helps you. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like button if you like what you see. And also hit that subscribe button for me, and check out my live stream channels if you have any other questions at Twitch/RocketPCGaming. Thank you for watching.